My name is Tyler Hackman. I'm a senior territory manager for Earthwave Technologies. Our solution is called Fleet Watcher. As you'll see, these are some of our customers up here in the area. If any of you are unclear on the e-ticketing piece, you're already set up for it, just give me a call or come talk to me if you have any questions about how that's going to work. These are all my customers specifically, so we are currently working with a number of companies in here, and we've actually worked with the TxDOT and TxAPA to help inform for the spec. So Fleet Watcher itself, just a little bit of background, is designed to be a one-stop solution for all things paving. One thing to understand about us, this is 100% of what we do. We don't have any extra solutions for track and police cars, school buses, anything like that. For the past 21 years, we've been working exclusively with heavy civil construction companies, site development contractors, paving contractors, and bridge builders, and we've developed all of our solutions with this industry in mind. So we've gotten to the point here, again, been in business for 21 years, so we've gotten to the point where we can do pretty much anything from dispatching through real-time job site management, to paying trucks through the Fleet Watcher solution. Today, obviously, we're going to be sticking with the DOT and plant control loadout e-ticketing, so I'll keep it as much in that vein as humanly possible. But again, a lot of the e-ticketing solution is really built on top of our operations management piece. We call it our materials management solution that we've been developing since about 2012. So a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today. We actually worked with the Iowa DOT back in 2014 to develop the e-ticketing concept, and we'll get into a little bit of how that worked. But essentially what happened was we were already pulling a lot of the information in for operational purposes for our customers. We were at an Iowa Asphalt Paving Association conference. DOT saw what we were doing. Poof, we'll skip the story. E-ticketing was kind of created through that concept. So since then, we've consulted, especially after COVID, post-COVID, e-ticketing became more of, or went from sort of a want to more of a need. There was obviously a pressing factor in that. And so since then, we've consulted with over 30 state DOTs, national DOTs, and actually have been working with the FHWA, who's going to be working to try and standardize down the road. So we've been sitting in on meetings, consulting on that level to help inform their decisions on what they want that to look like. That also includes Texas. Sat in very early, personally with Craig and Buddy and Jim and a handful of others, Bill, on what this might look like. So we've also consulted. There's a handful of states out there that have wanted to try and build their own software for e-ticketing. We've helped, with the experience that we have, we've helped develop along them. I guess we haven't developed anything, but we've helped sort of liaise on that level. And we've successfully executed on e-ticketing specifications on the DOT level in over 30 states, and you can add to that number when you're talking about what we would call FOB e-ticketing or material sales e-ticketing for your customers. So the way that this has happened, we were already pulling in electronic tickets. We were also tracking trucks, and that's one thing to understand about the context of this scenario is Iowa was very interested in tracking the truck from source to destination, from the plant to the job site, making sure that he wasn't kicking his tailgate open somewhere and helping his buddy out with his driveway. So that's not necessarily something we see a lot post-COVID. More of what we're looking at is very in line with what TxDOT is looking for, which is more of a paperless ticketing with a verification, a geographic verification of where that material is laid on the ground associated with that ticket. So what we were pulling that information in originally to do was something like this, and this is what I was just sharing this with Billy a second ago. But what you're looking at is what we call our plant production report, both on the desktop portal and the mobile app. But essentially what we were trying to do is give real-time visibility into how many tons are we moving of different material types to different projects on a ticket-by-ticket basis, and then using those tickets to give you sort of an overview of scheduling. So from a plant manager's point of view, obviously that's very, very important information. Helps inform your decisions on how much material you need in the silos of different types for different projects, what your schedule looks like so far, so you can plan ahead as you go. On the job site, so there's the way that I always look at it is you have a production operation at your plant, you have a production operation on the job site. We're trying to marry the two and balance the two, so you need visibility into what's going on in different elements of that, both at the job site and at the plant. So these are what we call shift cards, and these are more focused for anybody who's managing a crew, superintendents, so on and so forth, foremen. So if we need to lay 975 tons today, so far we've loaded out 28% of that, and we're 22% through with the day. So we're a little bit ahead of pace. We're on pace to make some money today. If we are behind pace, if there's something we can improve on, it goes into tons per hour and stuff like that. We can cover that in live sites if anybody's curious about that functionality. But these are the type of objectives that we were originally pulling in tickets in order to do that kind of led down the path of e-ticketing. So the way that we're going to do that, the way that we're pulling in tickets is very simple. It's a small software patch that we install at the plant computer. It is, or if you have a replication server, if you have a main base, it's a small read-only software patch that lives downstream of where the data is being generated. So nobody at the plant, you don't need plant managers or plant operators typing in different information or telling printing out the ticket and telling Fleet Watcher what to do. It's automatically going to look for any fields that we designate. So if 6 months from now, Dwayne and company want to see a couple extra fields in there, it's very simple. We go in, we adjust that. It'll start pulling in those fields automatically. But it's going to pull in any relevant fields for what we're trying to accomplish. And we're going to associate that out based on a project number for the DOT purposes, or if we're doing FOB ticketing, we're going to essentially publish all this information into the cloud and give selective access to designated individuals, DOT inspectors, FOB customers, give selective access to just their tickets so that they can do what they're there to do. So this is essentially what the contractor would see. You can see here that some of these scale tickets, each one of these is a scale ticket. Some of these scale tickets have a little DOT designator. So as the contractor, you're going to see all of your tickets, whether or not we're doing it for an e-ticketing project. You don't have to do anything extra for that. It just goes ahead and it pulls any tickets that are generated into the system. Now the next step is we're going to restrict that down specific to what that person needs. So if it's a DOT inspector on the ground, if it's a dumper, I know that it's sort of open as to who's going to be managing this the input on the job site, the stationing and so forth. But we're going to essentially limit their visibility into just what's relevant to them. That way we don't have folks going back and forth to different projects and accidentally accepting or rejecting or adding temperatures with the wrong ticket. So you can see this has been restricted to just this guy's project. Now we go to what's going to happen in the field. The DOT inspector, the customer on the ground, is going to have the Fleet Watcher app available to him. And essentially what it's going to do, in the same order that tickets are generated, it's going to populate in their app for their project. So they'll be able to see a couple of things that are important here. One is if they just approved or accepted the load for truck 26313, if everybody behaved themselves on the way to the job site, they should be looking for 28004. Once 28004 shows up, they click in and they'll get this view. So these are all the relevant fields that the DOT or the customer has asked for access to in the field. And then obviously these, I scrolled down here, but on the job site, you'll be able to waste tonnage if necessary. You'll be able to add temperatures if necessary. You'll be able to accept or reject loads. Now that's one of the first ways. When I hear the QR code thing, it sounds like the objective there is to record an accurate location for that load, for that scale ticket. When you accept a load in our system, it's automatically going to pull a geographic location of that cell phone. And that's going to associate that on the ground. Now we have another way to do that, which I'll get to here at the end of the presentation. But that's one way that we can do that. If it's an inspector, if it's a dumper, we can make sure that we have them in position to go ahead and record exactly where that material, which we already have the scale ticket associated with it, we can associate a scale ticket with where it is on the ground when it's accepted or rejected. Now if you're asking Fleet Watcher to go ahead and reject that load, it's going to ask for a reason. It's also going to pull the geographic location. Last thing that we want is somebody off-site, not actually in a position to be rejecting loads, sitting at Whataburger and saying nope. Now we have the note section. That's where we can go ahead and add in stationing information, whatever is necessary for that, and then you always have access to the PDF of the ticket. Now, because this is all being published to the cloud, and then we're again giving selective access to certain individuals to that information, this is all going to upload automatically, or it's all going to update automatically as we go. So you can see these tickets here do not have this little blue ... And essentially what that means is that these have not been accepted or rejected. These have made it to the job site and have been dumped. So here's an example. I just clicked on one of those ... And you can see that here it's the same information we were just looking at, but one of the notes here is that the ticket was accepted. Here are the geographic coordinates. It was accepted by Steve Sellinger on 7/13/21 at 10:30. So it's going to timestamp and login stamp that so we understand who did that. It's essentially the same as a signature on that ticket. So that's going to update in the portal. Now, obviously some of the reporting aspects, this is kind of clunky to report on, right? When you're going through at the end of the day and you need to see, okay, these tickets were all generated, these tickets were all accepted, these all made it to the job site, here are the geographic coordinates. That's not very good for reporting. You can kick that into a CSV. You can obviously also go ahead and email PDFs if you needed to send that to a driver. If the driver has the Fleet Watcher app on his phone, he'll have access to that in real time as well. But that's just not great for reporting. So what we can do is at the end of the day, and I splice this together obviously, but you can create what did we run to project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 today? Show me every single ticket. As they're reporting on it, you'll see it automatically populated a signature for that, whatever signature they had saved for that inspector, that employee, that essentially says this, yes, this is all accurate as far as what I did in the field today. The other need on the reporting side is obviously if we wanted to look back and say how much material did we run to the I-35 project last week. So that is our project summary, our materials summary report. You'll notice on the left here we have fields for how many tons were sent. If there were any voided tons, those would automatically update. Any wasted tons, that automatically update, or any rejected tons, that's automatically going to update into this program. It's going to kick it into a format where you can sign, countersign, and we can account for what was sent to the job site, both on the DOT and on the contractor side. Now, one of the big things that's going to be very helpful for this, and the reason that you don't really have to understand as a contractor, you don't need to memorize exactly what they have available or what their reporting processes are going to look like, is we manage all of the training and support for the DOT on our customers' behalf. So our contractors are our customers. We're working with the DOT on your behalf. So all you have to do is so the Hunter guys could just call Kurt and say, Kurt, this guy needs information or needs to be set up with DOT ticketing for this project. Kurt goes in, trains them. If there are any questions in the field, if there's any problems that they're running up against, if they can't get logged in, whatever it may be, they're not calling one of your employees who then calls us. They call us directly and we manage that process for you. So I was going to end it there, but I'm not, because another way that we can pull off a very accurate geographic location, sort of like the QR code thing, that was news to me, so I hadn't put this in there, but I thought, might as well throw the slide together, is we can do that automatically without having any driver input at all. So if we're tracking those trucks, we can go essentially create a geozone that comes off of this paver, and you can't really see it here, but there's a green circle there as well. That green circle is designating the difference between a truck that's waiting in line and a truck that's actually dumping at that piece of equipment, shuttle buggy, paver, whatever it may be. It's gonna tell us the difference between who's dumping and who's waiting in line. Obviously, we had originally built that to give us visibility into do we have too many trucks that are just stacking up the paver all day? But it's very useful in an e-ticketing context because essentially what the system will automatically do, whether we're using that information or not, is once that driver pulls away from the paver, it's going to drop a geographic pin at the last communication it had saying, I'm at this paver, and it's going to create a dump location much like this. So that's all automatically being collected in the background. Whether or not the DOT wants to use it, that's one strategy. I'd have to dig a little bit further into exactly what we're looking for, what the purpose is in order to pull off the new changes. But everything we covered to that point pulls off the original specification that was put together.